At 11:40 p.m., a lookout spotted something in the darkness. Just 37 seconds later, the most famous ship in history was doomed. What happened during those final hours? And why are people still talking about Titanic more than 100 years later?
The year was 1912. Humanity was amazed by technology. People believed that nothing was impossible for science. In this age of confidence, the most famous ship in history was being built in Belfast. Its name was RMS Titanic, a floating city and an engineering marvel. More than 15,000 workers labored day and night to build this giant ship. Many workers were injured, and some even lost their lives during construction. Titanic stretched 269 meters long and weighed over 52,000 tons. With 9 decks and hundreds of cabins, Titanic was filled with luxury. First-class passengers enjoyed a swimming pool, gymnasium, and Turkish bath. Newspapers declared that this ship was practically unsinkable. April 10, 1912, the port of Southampton was filled with excitement. The world's largest passenger ship was preparing for its maiden voyage. Thousands waved from the shore, saying goodbye to Titanic. A total of 2,224 people were on board, including passengers and crew. The wealthiest and most influential people traveled in first class. John Jacob Astor was one of the richest passengers aboard Titanic. John Jacob Astor was one of the richest passengers aboard Titanic. He was returning to America with his young pregnant wife, Madeline. Margaret Brown was also aboard, later known as the unsinkable Molly Brown. Isidore and Ida Strauss were a couple whose love story would become legendary. Meanwhile, third-class passengers dreamed of a new life in America. They came from Ireland, Italy, Sweden, and many other European countries. Many had sold everything they owned to buy a ticket. For them, Titanic was not just a ship, it was a doorway to a better future. But fate had prepared a very different story for them. Titanic began its journey across the North Atlantic. This North Atlantic route was notorious for dangerous icebergs. Experienced sailors knew these waters became extremely dangerous in spring. The first warning reported icebergs and drifting ice directly ahead. As the day progressed, more warnings arrived from nearby ships. A total of 7 major iceberg warnings were received. Captain Edward Smith personally reviewed several of the warnings. Yet the ship's speed was never reduced. Titanic continued at nearly 22 knots through the Atlantic. As night fell, the sea became unusually calm. There was no wind and almost no waves. Ironically, the calm sea made icebergs harder to spot. The lookouts were supposed to have binoculars, but they didn't. A forgotten key left the binoculars locked away. Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee scanned the darkness with only their naked eyes. April 14, 1912, 11:39 p.m. Lookout Frederick Fleet stood watch in the freezing night air. Suddenly, he spotted a massive dark shape ahead. With every second, the shape grew larger. Fleet immediately rang the warning bell 3 times. He then called the bridge with an urgent warning. "Iceberg, right ahead," he shouted. First Officer William Murdoch reacted immediately. The order was given to turn the ship. The engines were ordered into reverse. But a ship this massive could not turn seconds. In just 37 seconds, history changed forever. For a moment, it seemed the ship had missed the iceberg. But beneath the water lay a far greater danger. The submerged iceberg ripped a long wound into the ship's hull. The collision lasted only a few seconds. Yet those few seconds sealed the fate of thousands. Most first-class passengers noticed nothing unusual. Many assumed the ship had merely shuddered slightly. But in the boiler rooms below, the situation was very different. Freezing seawater suddenly began pouring inside. The watertight doors were quickly sealed shut. Some crew members escaped through the doors at the last second. The ship's chief designer, Thomas Andrews, was summoned. He quickly assessed the extent of the damage. His calculations were clear and terrifying. Titanic could survive with 4 flooded compartments, but 6 compartments were already flooding. Andrews delivered the grim truth to Captain Smith. Titanic will sink, and she has only about 2 hours left. After midnight, the situation began changing rapidly. Officers ordered the lifeboats to be prepared. A terrifying truth soon became clear. Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats. Together, they could carry only 1,178 people. But there were 2,224 people on board. That meant there was no space for over 1,000 people. Yet many passengers refused to board the lifeboats. They did not believe that such a large ship could really sink. Some lifeboats were lowered only half full. One lifeboat built for 40 carried only 12 people. Time was running out, but many still didn't grasp the danger. Then came a crucial order: women and children first. From that moment, a desperate struggle for survival began. Panic was slowly spreading across the deck. Even amid the chaos, some people tried to remain calm. The ship's 8-member band began to play. Their goal was to keep passengers from panicking. Their music drifted through the freezing night air. The ship was slowly beginning to tilt. Yet the musicians never stopped playing. Every one of them would perish with the ship. Meanwhile, Benjamin Guggenheim returned to his cabin. He removed his life jacket and dressed in his finest clothes. "We are prepared to go down like gentlemen," he reportedly said. Elsewhere, Isidor Strauss urged his wife Ida to board a lifeboat. But Ida refused to leave her husband behind. "Where you go, I shall go." The two were last seen sitting together. Time was running out quickly. Captain Edward Smith moved through different parts of the ship. He released crew members from their duties. Now everyone would have to try to save themselves. The bow of the ship sank deeper into the ocean. The stern slowly rose higher into the night sky. Hundreds clung desperately to railings and ropes. The night was filled with fear, tears, and prayers. Suddenly, the ship's lights began to flicker. Moments later, the ship plunged into darkness. Then came a terrifying sound. Unable to withstand the pressure, the ship's structure began to fail. Titanic split into 2 sections near the middle. The front part quickly sank into the depths of the sea. At 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912, Titanic vanished beneath the sea. After Titanic sank, more than 1,500 people were left in the ocean. The water temperature was -2 degrees Celsius. In such water, a person begins losing strength within minutes. Cries for help echoed across the dark ocean. Some called for God, others cried out for their families. Passengers in the lifeboats could hear every desperate cry. Many wanted to go back and rescue survivors. Others feared the lifeboats would capsize if they returned. As the debate continued, precious time slipped away. At last, one lifeboat decided to return. It was lifeboat number 14. Fifth Officer Harold Lowe led the rescue effort. When they returned, only a handful of survivors remained alive. For many, it was already too late. One by one, the cries faded, and the ocean became silent once again. As the night passed, the first light of dawn appeared. In the distance, the lights of a ship appeared. It was the RMS Carpathia. Carpathia had rushed toward Titanic after receiving the distress call. Captain Arthur Rostron pushed his ship to its limits. He ordered blankets, hot food, and medical supplies prepared. Carpathia arrived to find lifeboats and debris scattered across the sea. Survivors were brought aboard one lifeboat at a time. Many were crying, unable to believe what had happened. A total of 710 people were rescued alive, but 1,514 people never returned home. The chances of survival were not equal for everyone. Nearly all first-class women survived. Many third-class families never had that chance. That night, not only nature, but also social inequality claimed lives. On April 18, 1912, Carpathia approached New York Harbor. Thousands of people waited at the harbor. Many still did not know whether their loved ones were alive or lost. Every survivor stepping off Carpathia carried a story. The entire world was shocked by the Titanic disaster. Many newspapers at first could not believe that the Titanic had sunk. Soon, official investigations began. The investigations revealed a series of failures and mistakes. Excessive speed, too few lifeboats, and ignored warnings were key factors. After the disaster, maritime safety rules changed forever. Ships were required to carry enough lifeboats for everyone aboard. 24-hour radio communication became mandatory. The International Ice Patrol was established to monitor icebergs. Though Titanic was lost, its lessons changed the world. But the story of Titanic was far from over. 73 years passed after Titanic sank. Its location deep beneath the ocean remained a mystery. Many expeditions failed to locate Titanic. Finally, in 1985, a groundbreaking expedition began. The expedition was led by oceanographer Dr. Robert Ballard. Deep-sea cameras were lowered to the ocean floor. Then, suddenly, the most famous shipwreck in history appeared on screen. Titanic lay 3,800 meters beneath the ocean surface. The bow section remained remarkably intact. Its portholes looked like empty eyes staring into the darkness. Shoes, dishes, and personal belongings lay scattered around. Every object told the story of an unfinished life. Titanic is more than a ship. It is a symbol of human history. It is a story of pride, mistakes, courage, and love. Even today, Titanic reminds us that humanity is never invincible before nature.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest history stories.